Hi, I'm Jacob Mathis, MSD's project manager for the Ohio River Tunnel project and the associated projects that go with it. We'll do a quick get to know you session, allow you to try out your clickers, see how they work for later on in the presentation. We'll do a quick overview of the consent decree. We'll do a project overview. We'll do some specific information regarding the projects themselves, give you an updated schedule, rough cost estimate that we have going forward, and then get some feedback from you on how you want to be informed as the project advances. So first up, getting to know you. Each one of you should have a clicker in your hand. Pretty simple, number 1 through 10, with 0 being 10. So as you go through the presentation, when the question comes up, you'll have an option to answer. So just push the button that corresponds to your answer. Last button you push is the answer that will be recorded. If you change your mind before polling ends, just press the new button, and that's the answer that will be recorded. So up next, quick questions. How old are you? So if you would, just, okay. Everybody got their answer in? So we have about 14 people in participation, and there are answers. So between 30 and 59 in the audience today. Next question we have is gender. So if you go ahead and pick your answer, please. And there's the makeup of the audience. So that's how the clickers work. Seems like everybody's got the hang of it. So we'll be ready as we go forward. Consent decree overview. Why are we doing what we're doing? Well, as you know, Louisville at one point in time was undeveloped. A lot of grassy areas, creeks and streams, and a river. So anytime it rained, the rain would be absorbed by the vegetation or run off to a creek and then eventually to the river. Well, as development happened, well, I guess as you can see, map of Louisville, you can see the west end of Louisville is basically a swampy, low-lying area that has been built up. But over time, development happens. So you start putting in pavement for parking lots, roadways, you start building buildings. So what happens to that water when it rains? Well, it no longer absorbs into the grass areas. It runs off immediately to the stream. Prior to sanitary sewers, what happened to the waste that left a facility, whether it's a house or a building? Ended up in the street. They just tossed it out the window. It was out of the house, out of their way, no big deal. Well, as you know, this leads to health problems. And in order to combat the health issues associated with the disposal of waste in this manner, they started piping everything directly to the nearest creek or stream and turned those basically into sewers, the early sewers. They'd put a cover over the top of them, and then everything would make its way to the creek and the river. Kind of a schematic of what it is. As you can see, the one on your left as you're looking is how the sanitary sewer service worked. A sewer left a house or a building to a sewer in the middle of the street, tied in directly to the nearest creek, river, or stream. So anytime anything went through those pipes, it went to the water body. So as civilization, I guess, progressed and water treatment technologies become available, water treatment plants were built. Louisville did not put Morris Forman into operation until 1958. So you think about that, within the last 60 years is all we've had water treatment in the city of Louisville. And the city's been around a long time. So in order to get the flow from the sewer to the treatment plant, what they did to the sewers is they went in upstream of the water body. They put in what we call a dam or a weir, which is like a concrete structure up to a certain height in the pipe. And what that did is it helped divert water from the river to the pipe in the treatment plant, as you can see by the low flow line that's shown there. However, that was only sized for average daily flow, which you would see during a typical day. It didn't account for rain events. So anytime it rains and the sewers become overwhelmed, the flow goes over the weir and straight to the water body, which in our case for this project is either Beargrass Creek or the Ohio River. I guess with the rain events, it only takes about 1/10 of an inch of rain to create an overflow in the combined sewer system area. The combined sewer system area is roughly the boundary of the Ohio River and the Waterson Expressway, so anything within that is considered the combined sewer area, where storm lines tie into the sanitary sewer lines. Some of the sewers that were built, the early sewers, such as the Southwestern Outfall, built in 1932, is still in service today. So a lot of the older sewers we have are still in service, and these are the ones that carry flow to the treatment plant or to the river during an overflow event. Overflows, what do they look like? There's several different scenarios. This one is the sewer itself adjacent to a water body. And when the sewer becomes overwhelmed, the water comes out straight through the manhole. So it blows the manhole off the top, water goes to the creek. Here's another one in a neighborhood. The sewer system is overwhelmed here, and the flow's coming out of the manhole in the street right in front of the residential properties. Where are sewer overflows? It's basically throughout the service area of MSD. The combined sewer system, as I said, is within the Waterson Expressway. And that's what we're here to focus on today as we talk about it. How do you control sewer overflows? Well, there's several different ways. You can control it at the source with green infrastructure, such as rain gardens, bioswales, planting of trees, removing of pervious pavement. You can disconnect the downspouts from the sewer system. Previously, they went into pipes and tied into the drains, which tie into the sewer. So we have a program that allows you to disconnect your downspouts and put them on the surface. You also have the option of disconnecting sump pumps, because sump pumps typically in the past have been connected to the sanitary sewer line of the house, which goes to the sewer and eventually the creek as well. So if you discharge those above ground, that helps remove that flow from the sewer system. Or you can do sewer rehab, which you go in, you cut out the roots, you repair any cracks or deficiencies, and line the pipe if necessary to keep any groundwater from getting into the sewer itself. So you reserve capacity for the sewer flow from the facilities instead of groundwater. Other options are gray infrastructure, which are pipe projects, where you put in new sewer systems, you abandon old ones, pump station expansions, wastewater treatment plant expansions, or storage basins. Storage basins is what you've probably heard a lot about, and there's been a lot of them built within the community. It's part of our consent decree program. As you can see on the timeline, there's 4 separate stages. One was the sewer separation, or separate sewer system projects in the early stages. Got us the most bang for our buck on the volume of overflow to the river. Next was treatment center eliminations. At one point in time, MSD had over 300 small package treatment plants. Today, we are down to the 5 regional treatment plants. So we have better technology treating the water instead of the old, outdated package treatment plants that are installed. The phase of the project that we're in now is the combined sewer system projects, which are the storage basins or the Ohio River Tunnel project. That is slated to go until about 2020. At the end of that phase, we will move over into the separate sewer system projects once again to clean up what is left in the IOAP. As you can tell, the projects that we're in now is about a $400 million undertaking. So from 2017 to 2020, about $400 million. The map you see here is the location of the basins. As you can see, it's not concentrated necessarily in one area. It's kind of spread out within the combined sewer system area. And those locations are identified based on where the actual overflows occur. So anywhere there's a pipe that may tie into the water body, the facility is generally built within that area. That way we can capture it before it goes out. So what is the Cso Basin? It's basically a temporary storage facility where you will catch the overflows before they go to the creek during a rain event. Once the rain event is over, those flows will be pumped out of the storage tank and back into the sewer system for conveyance to the treatment plant for treatment and release back into the Ohio River. So a lot of questions we ask about the storage basins. Will they create backups? No. The way we have it designed is that the high water elevations of these facilities are below basement elevations and generally the existing sewers that they're taking flow from. What happens when the system is full? When a basin is full, the overflow occurs then as it does now. It goes out of the same existing pipe we have right to the creek or the river. Will this reduce flooding? While the basin takes wet weather flow out of the pipe, it does not reduce flooding in areas. It's not a flood control project. Will the basins be visible? The general answer is no. A lot of these are being built in such a way that they are covered when they're done. You may see a control building or some other feature that is above grade, but overall the facilities are buried when finished. Odor. Everybody always asks about odors. Generally, there are no odors associated with these facilities. Most of the time, they're empty, unless it's a rain event in which the flow is stored, and it's usually stored for a short duration. 24, 48 hours is what the plan is before it's pumped out and sent back to the sewer system. And you also have to keep in mind that this is a diluted sewage, so it has a lot of rainwater mixed in with it. So it's mostly rainwater with a little sewage in it. It's not raw sewage in these facilities. And a lot of these facilities are being planned proactively with options for odor control facilities to be installed at a later date. So we're putting in the infrastructure now that is needed. That way, if odor is an issue, we can buy these new facilities and just retrofit them in with little cost and little effort. So, overview of the project. Originally, there were 3 basins planned for the downtown area. As you can see in the circles there, one was at 13th Street near Rowan, one was in Butchertown near Franklin and Buchanan Street, and another one was planned on the old River Meadow site on Lexington Road, kind of near Payne Street. Well, after getting through part of the design of those and looking at all of our options and hearing from the community, it was decided that we would pursue a tunnel option. So these 3 facilities went away and were replaced with a tunnel. Now, reasons we went with the tunnel, there was feedback from the community regarding what we were planning, so we went back and looked at our other options. We looked at traffic disruptions to the neighborhoods and the community, as the basins would require a lot of traffic in and out. The tunnel should have less impacts to the community with traffic during construction. Economic impacts to downtown businesses, there should be less with the tunnel versus the basin options that we were looking at. Consent decree still mandates that this project be completed by December of 2020. Community meetings to date. As these basins were being developed, there were several meetings held with the Butchertown and Irish Hills communities. As we went through design, there were orientation meetings, conceptual meetings, and after the conceptual meetings, we had 2 update meetings, and that was the transition point from the basins in their neighborhood to the tunnel itself. For the downtown group, since you all are new to the projects, we've had several meetings with Louisville Downtown Partnership to discuss our community outreach engagement, how we were going to do it, who we were going to contact, and we've even had individual meetings since then with the Kentucky Science Center and the Ali Center regarding impacts to their properties. The Ohio River Tunnel. As I said, it replaced 3 basins, but it is divided into 4 individual projects. One of them being the Ohio River Tunnel, one being the Rowan Pump Station, which will dewater the tunnel. And then there are 2 Interceptor projects, one called Lexington and Payne, which is in the Irish Hill community, and then the Downtown Interceptor, which is in the Central Business District. Consent decree deadline for this is December 31st, 2020. So the Ohio River Tunnel, where is it? This picture you see here will reference several times throughout the presentation, but the Ohio River Tunnel is generally along the river. You can kind of see it in the magenta line on the aerial. Starts at 13th Street, heads east out under 64 into the Ohio River, below the Ohio River until you reach roughly the 2nd Street Bridge, at which point it'll turn south to Witherspoon. It'll follow Witherspoon along Waterfront Park under I-65, 64 corridor until it reaches Butchertown, at which point it'll turn south and follow roughly Buchanan Street to East Main Street to its terminating point at Home of the Innocents property. What does the tunnel look like? Brief profile. We're over 200 feet to the bottom of the tunnel on average. So the deepest end is the 13th Street end where the pump station will be, and it goes uphill from there to the East Main Street location. The tunnel, being 200 feet deep, is deeper than the Galt House is tall. Just a fun fact for you. The tunnel itself is in solid bedrock. We did several geotechnical borings along the corridor to over 250 feet in depth to figure out where the limestone area was. And then the depth of the tunnel was based on the quality of the rock in that location. The tunnel itself is roughly 13,400 feet in length. So it's just over 2.5 miles. There is a location in there that is called a bifurcation that is 1,200 feet in length. And a bifurcation is basically a Y connection that you would see in a standard plumbing system. It just has a more technical name for a tunnel. As I said, the tunnel is 200 feet below ground, and the tunnel diameter, when finished, is a minimum of 20 feet. Excavated diameter will be roughly 22 feet or so, as there will be a 1-foot concrete lining on the inside of the tunnel. Volume of the project. The IOAP required, with the 3 basins, 33.7 million gallons of storage. With the tunnel volume that we have approximately 37 million gallons. So the tunnel meets the objective of the capture required. And another fun fact for you, rock removal on the project along the tunnel itself is approximately 300,000 cubic yards, or 30,000 truckloads. Now, I know it's an impressive number, and everybody concentrates on the number of trucks coming and going. This won't happen all at once. It'll happen over a duration, so it's not going to be 200 trucks a day or anything. It'll be a smaller amount, but there will be a lot of traffic. To give you an idea what the tunnel looks like, MSD staff and our consultants made a trip up to Indianapolis, where they are doing a similar type of project. However, their project is about 28 miles in length and a finished diameter of 18 feet. So what you see here is an excavated diameter of about 20 feet, which will be about the size of our finished project. The picture you're looking at is the working shaft site, which is right there at the 12th and Rowan Street property. This is where the excavation begins to the tunnel depth, where the tunnel boring machine enters the ground. It's where workers enter every day, where materials needed for excavation enter. It is also where the rock being removed comes out. If you look on the right side of the picture, you'll see a giant machine there that is connected to a conveyor system, which brings the rock from the face of the excavation back to the shaft and up to the surface. What you see on the left there, the big yellow tube, is the fresh air being supplied from the surface into the tunnel for worker safety. Picture you're looking at here is looking up into the tunnel towards the active excavation site. What you'll see on the bottom is a set of rail tracks that the machine uses to move forward. It is also used for a locomotive that moves people around and materials around within the tunnel itself. On the right side, you'll see in the picture is the excavation system and conveyor mounted to the side of the tunnel wall. On the left side is the support utilities for the machine, the electric, the water, and everything else that's required. This picture here is of the tunnel in Indianapolis that's been excavated and the utilities removed for final lining. Picture you see here is a final line tunnel. So that's what you're looking at is a concrete interior surface of a tunnel. And here's a picture of the group to give you an idea of scale of the people in the tunnel and how big the tunnel is itself. Shafts associated with the tunnel project. There are multiple locations where flow has to enter the tunnel from the surface. The first one is the pump station shaft. This is the shaft where the pumps will be placed that will dewater the tunnel back to the existing sewer system for treatment at the Morris Foreman Water Quality Treatment Center. The second shaft is the working shaft, which you saw in the previous pictures, where people go in, materials come out. The third location is the drop shaft 1, as it's called. It's the site nearest the pump station shaft where flow enters, and this enters from the Rowan Street area. Second location that we have, drop shaft 2, is roughly 7th and Washington Street, where flow will enter from that general area. Another location is drop shaft 3, which is near Franklin and Buchanan, where flow will enter, next to the Starkey pump station. The final location is drop shaft 4, or what is known as the Retrieval Shaft. This will collect flow from the Irish Hill area and put it into the tunnel. It is also called a retrieval shaft, as this is where the tunnel boring machine will exit the ground upon excavation. So it'll go in at one end and come out of the ground at some point later at the other end. Up next, Rowan Pump Station. It's concentrated on the west end of the project corridor at 13th Street. It's a zoomed in area. Red lines you see on the image are the tunnel itself. As you can see, the pump station and working shaft sites. Green line is a 60-inch diameter interceptor that will, once the flow is pumped up out of the tunnel, it'll be placed into this pipe, and then it'll go down 13th Street, roughly to Main Street, where it'll tie into the Ohio River Interceptor. Pump station, it will be a building on the property, about 120 feet, about 72 feet in size. This facility will house the pump station shaft, have an area for loading and maintenance of pumps, as well as an elevated control and electrical room to operate the facility. Just to give you an idea, there will be 10 submersible pumps placed in there to dewater, which have a capacity of about 3,500 gallons per minute. There are 2 grit pumps that will be placed in there to help remove the solids that get into the tunnel. They're about 1,000 gallons per minute each. And as I said, it will be a 60-inch gravity sewer back to the existing system. Kind of an idea of what the control building looks like. There's the layout of it, and then the colors kind of identify the 3 different areas talked about. Everybody likes to ask, what does the building look like? Here's a rendering. It's a draft version of what the building will look like. MSD is working with Waterfront Development and their architects to come up with a facade for the building to help meet their master plan objectives for Phase 4 Waterfront Development. This is kind of what they've come up with. The bottom portion, roughly 10 feet or 1/3 of the building, is a concrete structure, kind of painted a brown rust color currently planned. The rest of the building, the top 2/3 would be a metal structure. Not sure if any of you all are familiar with it, but there's a similar type structure in Riverview Park in southwestern Jefferson County. This is just a bigger version of that structure. There's another view of it for you. Next up, Lexington and Payne, CSO Interceptor. This is concentrated on the east end of the project. This project, as you can see, it is within the Beargrass Creek concrete channel from just south of Broadway to East Main Street to where it ties into the drop shaft 4 in the tunnel. This sewer line is about 5,000 feet in length and will connect to 9 CSO locations along Beargrass Creek in that area. And the pipe size will range anywhere from 36-inch diameter at the smallest to 102-inch diameter at the downstream end, where it connects to the drop shaft. A couple examples of what this project will look like. MSD recently completed the Logan CSO Interceptor project, which was in the improved channel of Beargrass Creek from Eastern Parkway to roughly Kentucky Street. So these are some pictures from that project. They put in a 96-inch pipe as part of that project, so we're roughly the same size. But you can see the crane will lift the pipe up from the semi that brings it in, and they will place it in the channel for staging, kind of like this picture here. And as they're working, they will remove one side of the concrete channel to put the pipe in. They'll use a machine that looks something like that, like a mobile gantry crane, which will pick the pipe up, move it around, and put it back in the trench. And as you can see there, that's what it looks like as they're putting it in, as they're getting it lined up and ready to go. And the way this project went, as the project was placed, as you can see in the picture, there's a cement truck in the background. Concrete was placed around the pipe as it was installed to fill the voids in and give us that concrete channel back. Next project is the downtown CSO Interceptor. This is within the central business district of downtown. There's also a small section that'll be done over in the Butchertown area. This sewer will capture overflow from 12 locations in the project area, and there'll be approximately 2,000 linear feet spread out over multiple locations. Size of pipe for this one is about 12-inch to 60-inch in diameter. There will be impacts to the street to get the interceptor pipes in and to the tunnel drop shaft locations. We're roughly working in Rowan Street between 10th and 13th Street. You'll be working in Washington Street between 6th Street and 8th Street. They'll also be working in 6th Street between Main Street and Washington Street. And there'll be work in Main Street between 5th and 6th Street. Kind of give you an idea of what you're looking at. Here's the Rowan Street area. As you can see, there's a sewer right there roughly at 10th Street that's adjacent to the 10th Street pump station that's there. We will pick flow up from that location and divert it over to the drop shaft, as you can see on the picture. Now the part over by 12th Street, we're remodeling the 2 sewer areas over there to reuse as much of the existing system as we can, but we will be digging up that intersection to make connections to those CSO structures. That's why the orange line doesn't go all the way down Rowan Street. The Washington Street area, as you can see on the left at 8th Street, there's a structure immediately inside of the flood wall right there. There's some hatches kind of in the loading area, the Kentucky Center for the Arts. We're going to pick up that structure right there, cross the flood wall over to Washington Street, and then follow Washington Street over to 7th Street. The drop shaft will be kind of located in that grassy area at that intersection across from the parking garage entrance. Now the work from 6th Street, there's an existing structure there that we're going to tie into, and we'll send the flow west to 7th Street to the structure that drops into the tunnel. The work on 6th Street itself is just connecting the new sewers to the area near Washington Street and then the Main Street sewer into the 6th Street sewer. So we're not going down the full length of 6th Street. Main Street, the area is between 5th and 6th. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it or you ever even paid attention, but the fountain there at the entrance to the Belvedere actually has a structure lid to our CSO location. So what we were planning on doing is intercepting that before the fountain in Main Street. That way we do not have to tear up the Belvedere or the fountain or the parking garage below the Belvedere. So we'll connect to the pipe in Main Street and send it west along Main Street to 6th Street, where there's an existing sewer. The other portion of this is what we're calling the story and main connector. It's roughly 200 feet of pipe that will connect to the CSO location near Franklin and Buchanan and put it into the drop shaft that's located on that property. That's roughly 200 feet of pipe, and it's about 48 inches in diameter. Project schedule. There's 4 different projects, so there's 4 different schedules that are taking place. The tunnel itself has been advertised and is out. We're looking at doing a bid opening in September with a board award at the end of September and hopefully construction to start towards the end of October. We're looking at a substantial completion date of summer or June of 2020. The Lexington and Payne CSO Interceptor is designed, looking at advertising next week, and then we'll have a similar procurement schedule as the tunnel. with a bid opening in September, board award at the end of September, and construction sometime in October. This one is a shorter duration. It would be done in June of 2019. The downtown CSO Interceptor would be the third project advertised. We're looking at completing design sometime in September and going through the procurement schedule and having an award possibly in October and a construction start date in November of 2017, with construction complete in October of 2019. The last project out for bid will be the Rowan Pump Station. Design is projected to be complete in November of 2017, with construction to start in February 2018. That project is supposed to be substantially complete by roughly August 2020. And as you can see, those are all before our December 31st, 2020 deadline. Up next, cost. Everybody's favorite question, what is this going to cost? As you can see there, each one is listed. The Ohio River Tunnel is estimated at about $135 million. The Lexington Paint Interceptor, about $25 million. The Downtown Interceptor, about $15 million. And the Rowan Pump Station at about $25 million, for a grand total of $200 million. What we'd like to do going forward is make sure we keep you all informed of what's going on. We'd like to be kept informed of what you all have going on, because we know this impacts a lot of what you all do on your daily basis with your businesses. So what we've done, working on keeping you all informed regarding street closures, construction traffic, and impacts as we go through here. So what we'd like to do is get some information from you all at this time. As we go forward, how would you like to hear about our tunnel project or the 4 projects we discussed today? Additional public meetings like you're having today, Main Street media, we can do district council newsletters, the MSD website, we can do a dedicated project website specific to these 4 projects, we can do an email list, of course there's Twitter, Facebook, text messages, and then we can also post information to Louisville Downtown Partnership's website. So if you would, take your clickers please, and you may select up to 5 options. The last 5 buttons you pick are the ones that will be recorded, and for 10, all you have to do is push 0. Oh, 10 is Louisville Downtown Partnership. Yeah, their website. All right. Preference looks to be public meetings, MSD email list, and dedicated MSD project website. Now, if we were to do a website, what information would you find most useful on this website? Things we're looking at is a real-time animation that would kind of show construction progress. So maybe it would be the alignment we showed previously with colors, whether it's green for work completed, yellow for work underway, and red for stuff not started. Colors will be decided later, but we could do an option like that. There could be a message board where you could post questions and get answers. We can do an 800 number where you can call that number 24 hours a day, leave a message, and then someone would respond to you. There's a project calendar that could be on the website showing what we're doing where and when with street closures. We could also do weekly updates, some type of maps of the construction area, what areas we're working in. And then you also have URLs to related project resources that could be on there. So if you would, go ahead and enter your choices. You can pick up to 5 on this one. Okay. Looks like the preference for this is a calendar and weekly updates. All right. Next steps, what to see. Ohio River Tunnel and Lexington Paint Interceptor, looking for a board award 3rd quarter of this year with construction to start in the 4th quarter. Downtown Interceptor, you're looking at a board award in the 4th quarter of this year, construction to start 1st quarter of 2018. And the Rowan Pump Station, you're looking at a board award 1st quarter of 2018 and construction in the 2nd quarter of 2018. And at this time, if you have questions, we'll go ahead and take your questions. Yes, sir.
How deep is the pipe on 13th Street going down?
Do you have Kyle?
Yeah, it's about 12 feet or so deep in depth.
So when you're staging the equipment that allows for the tunnel not to collapse, the reason I'm asking is because I'm responsible for 1301 West Main Street, as well as 1226 and 1234 Rowan Street, so you're going to be affecting me on pretty significantly. So I forget what you call them, but the things that stop the tunnel from collapsing, will that be in line, and will we have access particularly to all of the east side of 1301 West Main Street during the projects. Trucks in and out.
So that,
Let me put it another way. We need to have access to all of those, to that entire side of the building the entire time.
you're on East Main Street. So you're talking about the
No,
sewer.
West Main Street, sorry. 1301 West Main Street, the corner of 13th.
So the part that would affect you is the 60-inch gravity sewer down the street is what you're worried about.
Yeah, so the construction on the project is actually in 12th Street. So,
Yeah, they're talking about the pump station.
the 60-inch.
So you're on 13th though. It's not a significantly deep height, so I think it should be accommodated.
So if the entire west lane is open during the whole project, I think that works out for us. I'd like to walk with somebody when it's being planned out specifically.
Yeah, just make sure you give me your contact information, and we can set up an individual meeting to walk it, look at it with you. But just keep in mind, the trench won't be open the full length of the road at the same time. So it'll be done pipe sections at a time. So 20, 30-foot sections will be opened at a time. So we should hopefully be able to accommodate some type of ingress and egress of the property as we go.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's part of my question, is because they're gonna have to stage things as well on that same street or near that street. So I just need to make sure I've got a straight shot in and out from that building at all times. Again, we can walk it and make sure it's well. I have a couple of other questions.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Where's the pump station on the plan that's at, the Rowan Street pump station on plan?
If you look at, if you're on 12th Street and you cross over through the flood wall, it's immediately to the west of that. So on the left side of 12th Street. Okay. Anybody else? Question? Yes, ma'am.
So I'm Andrea Wilson. I'm responsible for the Fort Nelson building, where we're building a urban consumer experience there at 8th and Main.
Okay.
So I need to really understand what's going to happen with that road behind the building on this side of the flood wall, because that's our main corridor for load in and load out on a daily basis for the operation of our still. So
those are all the same concerns that we've been addressing in the Science Center conversations. We should pull these guys into those discussions.
yes,
Okay. So you're talking about the
The
Washington Street?
yes, that's correct.
Okay. You're worried about getting in and out?
Yeah, just on a daily, because we'll have daily deliveries of not only, items for the operation of our still, but mash and different things. So it's not an option to just say, oh, we can't get in today. We have to be able to receive those deliveries. So there's probably a fair bit of coordination there. If indeed you're tearing up that road,
Right.
we're gonna have to work through that and coordinate how to do that.
Right. And we will do that. Just we'll have to get together, talk about it, and look at it. But yeah.
I mean, I figure Science Center, Fraser
Well,
Museum, I
it
figure everybody's
correlates
got to
with the
move
issue
trucks
of-
through there.
It
So-
correlates with that issue of that piece of the project closing our parking lot access. So
Yeah. And we will look at that to kind of
those will
coordinate
all
it.
be integrated issues on that.
Yeah. The objective is not to cut off the entire area. So there will be ingress and egress some way in or out. So there may be detour signs that have to be put up to direct people the correct direction to get them in and out.
And I think the other thing for us is we are under construction right now. So, our construction isn't expected to finish until like the spring. So, we have additional people who are working there as well as this project, which according to the slide said, construction was to start in November. So I don't know if that includes, any of along Washington Street or not, but it would be nice to understand that a bit too.
Okay. We can have more detailed conversations if you give me your contact information. Anybody else?
Right. Closure plans, traffic plans, and safety plans, would those be published prior to the execution of the project?
Yeah, some of those traffic plans are included with the construction sets that are out for bid. The tunnel itself actually has detours and stuff set up for the contractor, although they are allowed to submit something else to suggest different traffic patterns or closures based on their schedule. But that's one of the things we're talking about, that we could publish things to the website for the project that allow the businesses in the area to know what's happening when, so we can kind of work some of those issues out.
It's possible that could be emailed in advance of the project to just get awareness.
What, the
The
traffic plan?
Specifically, yes, the traffic plan.
We can look at it. I mean, if there's something specific you need access to or need to make access in and out of your property.
Well, specifically the intersection at 12th and Rowan and 13th and Rowan.
Okay.
The engineers reached out to me about the concerns of closing that intersection at 13th and Rowan. It's one of our only access point.
Okay.
So I have a big concern about that.
Okay.
And then how about cleaning, street cleaning, any of the maintenance for the duration of the project when you do the tunnel project of 12th Street and 13th Street?
Yeah.
What are we to expect at the end of the project?
Any of the 4 projects listed do have erosion control plans associated with it that the contractor will be responsible for following. So they'll do their daily street sweepings if necessary to keep the roads clean. They'll have their construction entrances to try to limit the amount of sediment that gets off the site into the road. So that's something our inspectors will be watching to make sure that they follow. So it shouldn't be much of a problem. It does happen if it's wet and muddy, but it'll be cleaned up as quickly as possible afterwards.
Okay. And for the tunnel project, is all of the team members, does the project have enough staging area on the site for all the team members, or are they expected to park throughout the...
You know about for the tunnel itself, the property should be large enough. It's been laid out in such a way that we've kind of configured it that they should be able to get all the stuff they need on site. I'm not saying the contractor won't look at parking lot areas or try to lease additional areas from someone else in the surrounding area, but the way we have it laid out, we feel it should all fit on the site because he has 6 acres to work with roughly.
Okay. At the completion of the project, what's the next step?
The completion of the project itself, the tunnel, when everything's done at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, the property will be turned over to waterfront development. So we will go through and we will grade the site per our conversations with waterfront development. It'll be seed and straw, and then they will take over from there with their future park amenities and additional grading to get it to meet their master plan of the park. So we'll basically turn the gravel lot into a grass area when we're finished.
Will work hours be 24?
Tunnel worker hours are 24 hours a day. The tunnel? You won't know it's down there. Out of sight, out of mind. You won't feel it, you won't see it, you won't hear it. Now the surface activities that are taking place, the interceptors and stuff, you'll see and hear that. But the tunnel machine itself, you won't know.
The project that's happening down in Shawnee Park, is it related to this project?
Not related to this project, but it is one of the basin projects that were shown on the previous slides. So that's kind of what we would have done in the 3 locations before we went to the tunnel. Although that's much larger than the other ones that were planned. All right. If there's no more questions, we thank you for coming. And if you would, our website, there's a web address if you want to tell the people that you work with or other businesses about the presentation, it'll be available on our website. And they'll be able to click through it, look at it, and take the same questions that you all did as well. All right. Thank you all for coming.